Hello and welcome to episode 103 of the Perth to Paisley podcast, a podcast dedicated to the side that has fallen to sixth in the Scottish Premiership, Heart of Midlothian Football Club. The domestic game in Scotland is back, and joining me, Adam Kennedy, to discuss Heart's return, the return of the Singe, is Daniel McIver. How are you, McIver?
I'm doing good. Saying we're down to sixth like that is a wee bit harsh. I know it's technically true, but
Just
like,
facts.
yeah,
I feel sad after the weekend.
that's fair. Yeah, doing good. I've had a week and a half of work, back to work tomorrow, so dreading that. So that's class. But
Nice.
Fiorentina are coming to Tynecastle, and that'll be a laugh. How are you?
Oh, I average. I'm a ruthless insomniac at the minute. Can't sleep. Worried about my football club in the month ahead because it looks absolutely grim. But what are you dreading more, going back to work or the thought of Fiorentina running riot in Gorgie?
Well, at least with Fiorentina, I'll get to see cool players. At work, I don't. I just stare at a screen. So I'm honestly more dreading work, but that's just because I can go, oh, look, Luka Jovic looks cool as he gets his hat-trick in the opening 15 minutes.
I mean, Fiorentina are one of those sides that they've always had like a banging kit. I've not seen either of their kits this season, but I suspect they're
It's good.
Stunning.
I've only seen their home, but it's class.
Oh dear, that's great. That's really encouraging. But yeah, that's to come. Of course, there was a small manner of a match at the weekend that we really don't want to discuss, but we have to discuss because this is the Hearts podcast, and we're keeping it relevant. We're keeping it current. And speaking of current, before we go around the grounds, our current TV deal will be for no longer, obviously, the SPFL and the Scottish Premiership and Sky Sports, all working in tandem, doing a great job of broadcasting our game. However, the SPFL has finalised a new £150 million live broadcast deal with Sky Sports. Scottish Premiership clubs have approved a proposed new contract for 2025 through until 2029. This will obviously increase the amount of games that are shown. Currently, it's 48, allegedly, and it will take it up to 60. And Sky will also show domestic games in Scottish women's football this season. McIver, what do you make of that?
Right. I know I should care, right? I know I should, but I have no opinion on TV deals. I don't care. I just I know I should. It should matter to me. Yeah, it should matter to me as a fan, but I do not care how Scottish football is represented in the world. Cool, sound. I know that for clubs, it's way more important, and I think what was it? Rangers and Livingston seemed to be the two teams that were against it or something. And Aberdeen were like the team that was really for it. And Aberdeen released that statement.
I mean, trying to ask me to lean on the advice of another Scottish club, it's like choosing which disease you want to contract.
I saw that Aberdeen got tore apart for their statement. I'll be honest, I didn't read the statement, but I just saw people
that's nice to see.
Yeah, the amazing that great account, is it SPFL Media Watch? Is that what it is? They did a really good thread, kind of just going, every sentence you've said is bollocks, and I read that thread, so that was insightful. But I was like, okay, this is clearly a lot of people are really opinionated on this, and I was like, I just want to see Stephen Humphreys play football. That's that's where I am. How do you feel about it? Because you clearly feel more passionately about it than me.
Better watch what I say with regards to, future employment.
It's a great start. It's a great start.
Neil Doncaster is well worthy of his hefty salary. He's doing a really great job for our game.
I agree that he's a clown, by the way. I agree that he's an idiot. Just because I don't care about the TV deal doesn't mean I think he's amazing. He's an absolute idiot.
I don't know why my train of thoughts instantly hark back to this, but do you remember when the league had no sponsor? I mean, what a time to be alive. That in itself is iconic. Oh, God bless Scottish football. And another reason why you have me say God bless Scottish football is, of course, the weekend's matches. We're going to go around the grounds. Our match was, of course, the early Saturday lunchtime kickoff before 5 matches at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. Obviously, great that Sky deemed one of them, worthy of broadcast on a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, Derek McInnes's return to Pittodrie was an unhappy one. Aberdeen battering Kilmarnock by 4-1. There was a goal of the season contender at Parkhead, and I'm not talking about Rio Hatate's strike, because Josip Juranovic and Joe Hart's link up for Motherwell's goal was absolutely out of this world. Stevie May looks a man reborn. St Johnstone look like they might actually stay up after a 2-1 win over an absolutely hopeless Dundee United at Tannadice. Hibs won up in the Highlands. Nobody cares about that. And this season's surprise package, St Mirren, continuing to pick up points, grind out victories, successfully doing so in Paisley, thanks to a 2-1 win over Davy Martindale's Livingston. That was the only correct score that I got right at the weekend there, between the Buddies and the Lions. What did you make of the other quintet of Scottish Premiership matches, mate?
Continuing the trend of this podcast, I have seen none of the goals of any. I've seen, actually,
great.
That's not true. I've seen Stevie May, because everyone on Twitter was just speaking about how Stevie May's now went back to like 2013, and I'm all for it because I like Stevie May. I just appreciate it. And I saw the Gowser thing where he got like his shots pulled down and stuff.
That was brilliant to me.
That was funny.
Big fan of that.
Yeah, basically, so I think St Mirren and Dundee and Livingston will be kind of the battle for the last spot in the top 6. And I don't know who it will be. St Mirren look like the safe guess just now because they just seem to be fit and firing on all cylinders. But Martindale's amazing, man. I love Martindale.
Yeah, he's a god.
I love him so much.
I've totally changed my opinion on that guy.
He's so good at getting players to do what he wants them to do. It might not be like flashy or anything like that, but it's like, look what he's turned Holt into. He's turned Holt into like this incredible like Makelele in the middle of the park. Think of that when he was at us in the Championship, plays at number 10. And I always liked Jason Holt and wish he was like better. Why are you mocking my decision to compare
West Lothian Makelele?
Yes, exactly. Right. So I think they're going to do really well. I think the narrowness of that game showed that it's going to be tight between those two. Dundee United are just terrible.
Sorry, before you get into Dundee United, you said about the top 6. That's quite ironic, given that they've obviously both missed out on it in the past few seasons.
Yeah.
What I take it your top 6 is obviously the top 2, us, Hibs, and Aberdeen.
Yes, I think
within those 5 are nailed on.
I think it's almost nailed on. Yeah.
Okay.
Dundee United are definitely not getting into the top 6 because they are just
bad
atrocious.
When Tony Watt's having to come out and say we're definitely
don't
not
worry
relegated,
which means they're going to get relegated. Why would you say this?
But then our man Martindale said that last season, and I thought that was a mistake. And
well, no, didn't Martindale say our aim is to not get relegated?
No, I thought he was asked early on about it. I want to say it was Brian McLaughlin at the Beeb that asked him. And he said, I can assure you we will not get relegated. And I just thought to myself, that
he was right.
Well, of course, because he's a genius. But ultimately, I thought you're asking for it.
Yeah. I think, though, no one thought Livingston were going to get relegated last season. A lot of people now start to think. What was that thing? Was it last season somebody at Dundee kept being like, there's still 100 points to play for or something like that, and they just like never won any games? Like, I feel like that's what's happening now with Dundee United.
Your focus always shifts on to tomorrow that never arrives.
Yes, exactly. Killie are just terrible apart from against us, so we'll get to that later
on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. I still don't know how good Aberdeen are. I can't work them out. And we're now getting to like nearly 10 games into the season where they either look like they could turn up and batter somebody or look like they could just get battered themselves. My off-ski looks class.
Yeah, them and St Johnstone are the two that I can't quite put my finger on just yet for me.
And then the only thing I've seen from the Celtic game is the Joe Hart thing, where he pretends to be knocked out, which is really funny.
Oh my God. I mean,
if that Celtic win.
I say it every week, but if that was who, just say.
Maybe don't use this week as a good example, actually.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, that was really daft from me.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Because that man and 10 of his mates would take on Rangers at Tynecastle on Saturday lunchtime. How shite is it? And I know that I said this in the podcast before the international break. But how shite is it that not only do Hearts pick up wins heading into the international break, but you then come back. I know that it's a great game in terms of from a neutral standpoint, but I want one of the teams to win. Third versus second should be billed like brilliant. This is fantastic, but not when your team are one of said two. I just feel so underwhelmed. Like this month is tricky enough as it is. Why give us second place right at the start of it?
Yeah, it's just our luck. I will be honest though, when the team came out, I was a happy man.
Oh, we had reason to be encouraged. I was going to blame Neil Doncaster, but I don't think it's him that makes up the fixtures. So let's just talk about the team. Robbie Nielsen made one change from the side that defeated Motherwell by 3-0 at Fir Park. And that was Stephen Humphreys being handed a first starting Gorgie at Andy Halliday's expense. Sorry. I was going to ask, are you happy to see Andy Halliday drop for this particular match? But that would just set the conspiracy theorists off, so I'm not even going to bother. I, at first glance, actually thought that we'd gone 4-4-2. It looked pretty flat in midfield. Later, it became apparent that it was a 4-2-3-1 with Gordon in goal, obviously. Back four of Michael Smith, Lewis Nielsen, Stephen Kingsley and Alex Cochrane. Cammy Devlin and the German fella
Keogh
in the middle of the park, with Alan Forrest on the left, Barry Mackay taking up a central role, and Stephen Humphreys out on the right, supporting Lawrence Shankland up front. I take it you also fell into that trap of thinking that it was 2 up, yeah?
Yeah, basically, I looked at that and just thought, oh, Barry Mackay out wide left, Forrest wide right, Keogh and Cammy in the middle, Shankland and Humphreys up front. But no, it was a 4-2-3-1, which or a 4-3-3. They're very similar, like whatever way you look at it. A lot of people expected Nielsen to be quite defensive because traditionally against the old firm he has. And you could see by the reaction online that ironically after the game finished, the one person with question marks over him was Humphreys, because it was like, oh, well, Halliday's been good in recent weeks. Do we not want to overload the midfield? But if we're playing that, Gino's actually been all right in the last couple of appearances. Would you not play him wide right? But no, looking at the team, I don't think many people could complain. We've clearly set up to have a go. We're going to try and create chances. And that's basically all you want when you play one half of the old firm, especially at home.
And it proved a fantastic start, falling behind after just 5 minutes. Look, we got off lightly after 3. James Tavernier's corner was cleared off the line. It looked to be by Lawrence Shankland. However, I did allude to it there, just 5 minutes before the visitors took the lead in the capital. Connor Goldson sends a long ball forward, headed clear by Lewis Nielsen. Antonio Cholak intercepts, sends a wicked first-time ball out on the left flank to Ryan Kent, who crosses from deep, finds the Croatian once more, an emphatic header, nodding against the right-hand post. And I'm not going to lie, as much as it was annoying to see the ball hit the back of the net, it's just one of those aesthetically pleasing finishes. And they go ahead after 5 minutes. McIver.
I said last week I really wanted Morelos to start. I think I said even in that I know he'll still score, but I think I was really worried about Cholak. And I said last episode that I really like Cholak, annoyingly. Like, he's just a proper number 9. Like, I don't really like it when people say, Oh, he's just a classic number 9 in the sense of all he does is score. He has good link up and good passing and stuff like that, but his best strength is definitely just in the penalty box. He's so that clinical.
Instinct,
yeah. And that to me was the tail of the game up until a certain moment in the second half, where in the first half, where we actually, I even think in that first 5 minutes, we looked quite good. And it all was through that person that I said maybe had question marks initially, Stephen Humphreys, where my dad describes him as he looks like a rugby player. Like he doesn't look like a footballer.
I thought we were making that one of the quiz questions, but I couldn't find if he played rugby at a younger age. He does.
Like he's so huge, but he's also really fast. And clearly the game plan was hit him. And I felt that was working. But with Cholak and with Rangers generally, they were just so clinical. And it was like, right, I think Kingsley's partly to blame, which will be a theme for this first half, because in the middle of the park, Nielsen heads it out and Kingsley he kind of pisses about with the ball and it allows Cholak to nick it.
I was going to say, talking about Stephen Humphreys, obviously, he, as we'll get on to, was probably the main positive from a Hearts perspective. Do you think him being chucked on that right-hand side was to ask questions of Borna Barisic, potentially seen as the weak link in that Rangers team?
And Davis was on the left-hand side of the back four as well, who was obviously just very new into the side. So I think the idea was, just get
a double up on him and then it gives Shanklin more space or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, it's weird to say considering the result, but I think if like watching the 90, I feel like Humphreys was working really well. Like I know he didn't end up doing anything, but like Davis gets a booking really early on. Barisic gets bullied by him a couple of times early on, and I was just, we'll get to him in a wee bit more and more detail, but I was really happy. But then it's like, here we go again. Like for all the stuff we've created, 5 minutes, we're 1-0 down already.
And it was through Stephen Humphreys that would actually look to respond. Our only shot on target coming after 9 minutes. Sad.
He hits that ball hard.
Do you think?
Oh, it's like, I couldn't believe, I've not seen it back, right?
I actually think when I watched it back, it appears as though it's sort of relatively routine for McGregor. I don't know if that sounds harsh. I don't know.
It might be routine because it is right at him, but again, I might disagree with myself when I see it back, but my initial reaction was, Jesus Christ, he can hit a ball really hard. Yeah.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. I think what I have noticed with Rangers in recent Tynecastle performances is they're constantly looking for diagonals, long balls.
Yeah.
Alex Cochrane obviously sends that superb switch over to Humphreys, and we sort of look to do exactly what they'd done to us, what with the Goldson. Even last season, the game where they killed it off early with the 2-0, I think it's Joe Aribo's goal that Connor Goldson plays that long diagonal, and Aribo did what he did. But it did seem like we weren't just sort of settling, that we were trying to get back into the game. Let's just talk about Stephen Humphreys, because I presume that you're just going to wax lyrical. Like, there's not many positives, so we're as well just start.
He's one of two. In my opinion, he's one of two positives. Okay. We'll get to the other positive later on. I said after the Livingston game, when we got beat, and Humphreys was, for some reason, to me at the time, and especially now in hindsight, he was the main whipping boy for a lot of that.
In the deep end, wasn't he?
Yeah, and some people were saying, like, he's just another Cole Stockton. He's immediately terrible. He looks absolutely shite. And my response, which I feel like was a balanced one, was maybe let's not judge him 36 hours after he signed playing an hour on a plastic pitch.
I wonder who else argues this all the time.
I know it's maybe a novelty, but since that Livingston game, I think he's been fantastic, and the Rangers game was the best. He's so fast. Wigan fans kept saying to us, it'll take him a wee bit of time to get some end product, but immediately you'll see that he runs for every ball, even if it's dead. He'll jump for everything. I couldn't believe the amount of headers he won. Even in the second half, when we were losing out in terms of 10 men, every single time the ball went up to him, he would win it for a flick on. The problem was there was nobody there to flick on to. But he kept winning them. Even when Goldson moved across, he was winning headers up against Goldson. He's so fast. He can actually use his strength really well. He's built like Uche. And remember those first 12 games where Uche, just no one knew how to deal with Uche.
Everyone.
Yeah. I feel that he's not got the same end product Uche had in that time yet. But I feel like that's almost not his fault, because there was a time, I don't know if you mentioned it, because I can't remember when it was. So
is
apologies.
It because we're unfamiliar with that system?
Maybe.
That he's not played on the right-hand side before, and we've not, we haven't tried this. So
yeah,
this is
potentially.
New to everybody.
I do apologise if you're about to mention it, but we had a chance where Forrest plays a great pass to Humphreys. And there's a moment where I'm like, Shankland was just offside for the whole move. And you can see Humphreys screaming at me, like, get onside. And then it eventually leads to nothing. And Shankland is really apologetic. But it's stuff like that. That's not his fault. He's made a great run. He's tried to play a ball across to get an assist, but there's no one there for him to give the assist to.
You were talking about kind of running for every ball, challenging for headers. It's funny how we view players as fans. Some would argue that should be a bare minimum for a footballer, but he seems like he's going to be one of those players that a fan really appreciates because he's given it his all. And admittedly, sometimes it doesn't come off, but that doesn't prevent him from doing so.
It's why I really like Alan Forrest, right?
Yeah, we sort of need everybody to be on that same wavelength, and then you feel as though it's all just going to come together. It still feels very bit part. It feels sort of, I don't know, it's scattered elsewhere. Do you know what I'm alluding to?
Yeah, definitely. And on that, that's what I was going to say. I like Alan Forrest has been frustrating to some people, right? Which I can understand, because in some games he's been fantastic, in other games he's been quite quiet. But I feel like even a lot of people seem to be having an issue with his final product. I don't have as big an issue, because I'd rather he's making the chances and fucking them up than doing nothing like GMS does for most games, right? And I feel like that with Humphreys. So far, he's got no goals or assists. But in most games where he's played, I feel like he's been a positive spark. And
it's an impact.
Yes, exactly. That's the best word for it. And I'm more than willing to accept a lack of end product if he's still involved often. That was the thing last season with Barry Mackay. For ages, he didn't get a goal or an assist. But every Hearts fan was like, he's one of our best players. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's only a matter of time.
I hope that's the case with Humphreys, because so far I've really liked him, and he was our best player, not by far. So I think there was one other player who was close to him, but I thought he was excellent on Saturday.
The way that you were discussing Alan Forrest there was literally a carbon copy of Barry Mackay. It seems as though fans are more likely to pick up on Alan Forrest going missing than they are Mackay going missing.
Can we speak about him now?
Reason. By all means, the floor is yours.
Is there any point in playing him in any big games?
Well, I'll tell you what, Christ, you want to get off that fence. Tell us how you really feel.
Listen, I love Barry Mackay more than I love most Hearts players in recent years, right?
Baller.
Because he's amazing. But Craig Fowler said it in the Evening News, where it's now... Oh, no, actually, I think he just said it on Twitter. No, sorry, Laurie said it. Laurie made the point that it's now becoming not just he's not turned up in that game, but it's all right kind of thing. Now it's right, something needs to happen or he's getting dropped. Because there's he does nothing in big games. It's not even that he's quiet. It's that we had 5 chances in the first half. 4 of them broke down when they got to Barry Mackay. That's no longer just okay, it's Barry Mackay, but then he does amazing against the wee teams. It's he does do amazing against the wee teams. And that's why it's that he's so good against the weird teams. It's Jesus Christ. But what do we do on Thursday? Do we play him on Thursday? Because the right belief is that often without him, we don't have any creativity. But now it's
banging that drum last season, but you'd like to think that Forrest has come in and alleviated that pressure.
But also now in big games,
Robert Snodgrass, whoever.
In big games, he doesn't do anything. So we have no creativity. So what is his purpose in those big games? And
it's no wonder her big game record recently has been absolutely shocking.
Yeah, he does nothing in them. And it is now like, I'm not one to be like, therefore now, Barry Mackay is bad. Like, that's mental, right? But
he's never been good. We've never rated him.
Yeah, exactly. He's always had these issues. But he does also deserve credit. He's not just like someone who's above criticism. Like, it now needs to be, come on, and even just once, just turn up in one big game and I'll be like, right, there's something.
He's the best player in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I get outsiders wanting him involved in the Scotland squad. But then I really think to myself, is he worthy of being an international footballer? He turns.
I think it depends the context of who you're playing.
Yeah, against Malta, Liechtenstein,
it'll be
by all means. Against the Faroes, San Marino, whoever. Down at Wembley, it's a different matter.
Yeah, now that we've got promoted to the Nations League Group A, I think he's playing against Spain and Germany and all that.
No, I can't see him being called up for that playoff final for the exactly. 2024.
Yeah,
but no matter.
Speaking about Scotland squads and people getting ruined in them, let's move on to the next goal.
Oh, okay. I was going to touch on the Scott Arfield chance where it breaks them and he cuts in with that left foot, just bends it past Gordon's right-hand post. I mean, that was absolutely criminal.
Yeah.
But as you've alluded to, it would become 2 on the half-hour mark. John Lundstrom sends a lovely, long, left-footed pass forward. Yet another long ball that we just don't deal with. Rabbi Matondo takes on Alex Cochrane, slips in Antonio Cholak. On the angle, fires home a second. All of a sudden, we have a mountain to climb. But what I did want to ask you with regards to the second goal is, before you touch on Stephen Kingsley, should Craig Gordon save that? Because for me, I've seen the angle from behind the goal, and the answer is a resounding yes.
I think both Craig Gordon and Stephen Kingsley had their worst games for us.
Totally agree.
Since coming in and since returning. Now, that then doesn't just mean that I think for me, that's just right, they both just need to forget about this game. Just go, right, didn't happen, move on.
In fairness, this is going to sound stupid to say, and please don't take this the wrong way, people, but is this a good game for them to drop?
Yes, very, very much so. It's much worse to do it in a game we expect to win and then 100%. Therefore don't. Yeah, 100%. I think you're spot on in that regard. Yes, Gordon should absolutely be saving it. I know, as you say, it's Cholak. He's a really good finisher and it's a nice finish, but I think we expect Craig Gordon to save that.
Yeah. And the frustration is, I mean, we're both admirers of Cholak. These were his first 2 goals in the league away from Ibrox this season. I know it's early days. I know it's only October, but I don't know. I read into stuff like that, like rightly or wrongly. I just think that can't be good.
No, I agree with that.
Shock along come Hearts to hand you your first goals on the road. There you go, big man.
What happened at Scotland camp to Stephen Kingsley and Craig Gordon? Was the Tom Kitchen cooking that bad with aim as well? Did they get involved in that? Like, they did and that's why I don't think you can read too much into it. And like, I think it was just one of the games where it's like, both of them were like, what is happening here? Like, we're just going to have a bad game. And everybody's going to have a bad game. And out of that entire side, they are the 2 with the most credit in the bank in terms of allowing them.
100%.
Speaking about criticism and how like it's deserved for some players, I feel like what you have to say is they were really poor at the weekend. Most of the players were, but they especially were really poor. But you do just kind of go, well, right, let's move on. Hoping if it then starts to happen more and more, that's when you criticise.
You can allow uncharacteristic errors.
Yeah, everyone's going to have a bad game.
They are human beings at the end of the day. Like, my viewpoint on this has changed in the last few years. I'm no longer viewing footballers, with the possible exception of Erling Haaland, as robots, because that guy, watching the Manchester derby at the weekend, an absolute freak of nature, but no matter.
But I will say this, because I know what you're probably going to move on to the next big point, right? Yes. Up until that point, and this will sound weird, right? And some people might disagree.
I thought we were getting on well this episode.
I still think we had a chance at this point.
Really?
I don't think we had by a chance. I don't mean we now have a chance to win the game. I just felt that we weren't as bad as a side 2-0 down inside half an hour. Like, we were creating chances. It's just that clinical thing where we take 4 or 5 for their 1. Like, they get a chance and they take it and that's it.
Yeah, that's the difference.
But I was looking at the game going, not how are we 2-0 down? This is insane. But kind of going, we've not been that bad. There's been other parts performances, especially at Tynecastle, where it's like, how are we not 4-0 down at half time? But I felt like that game was a bit like, it's not that it's unfair, because they took their chances and deserved to be ahead very rightly. I wouldn't argue with anyone who said that. But I just felt that we were also like, all right, like we were still doing something. And then something happens that goes, right, that's it. The game's done. It's done.
Would you sort of say that it was like, I'm not saying it's to the same extent, but it's sort of like what Motherwell had to suffer with and us for part prior to the international break.
I agree.
Motherwell were arguably more dominant.
Yeah.
Definitely more dominant.
Yeah, it wasn't as cut and dry.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And all hope of, grabbing a goal, getting back into the game was wiped out on 38 minutes. Cammy Devlin sent off for a stamp on Rabbi Matondo. I'm just amazed to hear this, because you are quite possibly the biggest Cammy Devlin fan that I know. Yeah. And even you can't defend this challenge, this moment of madness.
Right. Here is the timeline of being in this stadium where the challenge happens I'm right up the back, but it happens in line with my seat. So I am like looking at it bang on.
You're seeing him rushing over and the cogs are turning and it's just like, oh no.
He starts running over and my initial reaction is, what are you doing? Cochrane's there. Like, he's not going anywhere. He's on the halfway line. What are you doing? But I'll be honest, I reacted like a lot of Hearts fans did, because as I'm so high up, it just, to me, looked like Devlin barged into him. So when they got a red card, I was like most of the ground going, what? What is going on? How has he been sent off? Then, through the power of technology, I was sat on my phone 2 minutes later, and the Sky Sports tweet comes up. So I put it on, and suddenly 4 rows convene around my phone. And the challenge happens, and immediately the 4 rows go, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, it's a red. Like, you literally see it back once. You don't need to see multiple replays to see, oh, did he
No,
actually...
exactly. There's no contention.
Yeah.
That's it.
It is mental. And again, I disagree that he's went in maliciously. I think he's went in stupidly. Like, he's just went in with way too much pace, where, of course, something like that's going to happen.
Yeah, because even he's sort of startled as to why he's been shown the red.
Yeah.
I get what you're meaning. He's sort of surprised because I think he's of the mindset that he didn't mean to.
I don't think he's went in going,
here.
I don't think he's went, I'm going to snap him. I don't think he's done that. I think he's went,
it's just like, give me the fucking ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he shouldn't have been in the position to do that, because it's not like because again, part of it is that Matondo is static, because Cochrane is there with him, jockeying him. Devlin comes in with such pace that it's like, even if he didn't I think even if he just did shoulder barge him / push him, he might have got sent off just for that. because of the pace he's running in. And was it Steve McLean who was the ref?
No, was it not John? Was it not John Robertson? No.
Oh, it might have been.
I don't know.
It might have been. Whoever the ref was.
I can't remember, mate.
Whoever the ref was, it's probably going to use the viewpoint, regardless of what Devlin does, is you've ran like 15 yards to make that challenge. You need to be spot on here, otherwise I'm going to send you off. And not only was Devlin not spot on, he literally just studs Matondo's ankles. And it's like, at that point, I really appreciate what Robbie said after it. He confronted Devlin, like, apologised to everyone in the dressing room. The issue isn't for me like as much the red card in like a disciplinary thing, because can everyone calm down a wee bit when people are like, he's a walking red card, first red card he's ever had in his professional career. Like, calm down. But the issue is more, he then left his teammates an hour against one half of the Old Firm with 10 men when we've got Fiorentina days away and need everybody fresh. That, for me, was the biggest thing.
I do apologise. You were correct. It was Stephen McLean.
Okay, Stephen McLean.
So
that, for me, was the biggest thing. It was like, I don't think he's meant to do it. He's just been very, very silly. And it has now meant the game's done. That's it. We cannot get back into it. And now we have to face just under an hour of our players getting extra tired when we've got such a big game on Thursday.
I have to say, I don't know how you feel with regards to the managers of both Old Firm clubs, but I really like Giovanni van Bronckhorst for whatever reason. And what was refreshing to me was that supposedly he's had a chat with Cammy Devlin to say...
You see him holding his face.
Yeah, like... He seems very complimentary of Devlin's game on the whole. He seems to be a big Cammy Devlin admirer. And he knows that's that, well, of course. And he knows that that's not his usual doing. Yeah. And he's a better player than that challenge suggests. But ultimately, we have just been sold down the river. And we were lucky to not go in 3-0 down at the break. Because Craig Gordon comes for a Borna Barisic cross, misjudges it. The ball falls for Scott Arfield to prod home. And it looks as though he's got his goal, but it was pulled back for a foul that never was.
It's insane that was given as a foul. It's the clearest goal ever. Gordon just panics and goes, "Oh no, I'm on the ground." It's like Joe Hart. Like, I'm on the ground. Ah, help, I've been hurt. No, he just fumbles it completely. It should have stood.
If only we had VAR implemented from the start of a season rather than bringing it in halfway through a campaign.
Is it the end of this month?
No, it's not. It's not after the World Cup.
No, but didn't they change it to the first round of fixtures?
Oh God, have they?
I think isn't it the first game will be us Celtic?
No.
Isn't that the first week?
No. Oh, that has got like Stephen Elliott's ghost goal, like John Guidetti's dive.
Guidetti's dive is exactly what I was thinking of.
God.
I might be wrong. I'm not sure.
I was adamant they were leaving. Oh, that's really depressed me if that's true. I was adamant they were leaving it till after the World Cup.
I'm going to try and find out.
Oh, no. Oh, don't tell me.
VAR, Scottish Premiership introduction to be fast-tracked to before the World Cup.
What? Like, why? A set of fixtures?
I don't know when it is, but it just says fast-tracked.
No, let's move on. This is another debate. I'm going to get angry. Look, the second half was utterly pish.
Yeah, there's nothing to speak about in the second half. Doesn't matter. I want to speak about one person.
Okay.
I want to speak about Keogh.
The second positive, I presume.
The second positive, because I'll be honest, already I'm starting to love him.
No.
And listen.
Oh, not this early, mate. Come on.
This is the thing.
You've caved. What are you doing?
No, this is the thing. I know that the thing is that I like defensive players. And my favourite Hearts players ever are mostly defensive players.
We've been over this. You're a weirdo. We get
Yes. But, oh my God, I think everyone can appreciate how good he was. So, I've got stats for you, right?
Oh, here we go.
Right.
The only stat that I was going to go on to was Alfredo Morelos has now got 10 and 9 against us.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but who cares about that?
Ryan Kent. Yeah, well, let's not talk about the goals.
Yeah.
Positives are plenty. Keogh, carry on.
He was only on for an hour. He played 60 minutes. He had the highest pass accuracy in our team out with the two centre-halves, who I don't think really count because most of their passes were to each other and to Gordon. Right?
That is such a misconception. I'm sorry. But everybody views that as like a pass completion, all this. When I watch football now, it doesn't matter who it is. Everybody tries to play it from the back. So the centre-halves and the goalkeeper are amongst the top touchers.
Yeah, so that's why you ignore them. So Keogh had a 78% pass accuracy. He had 29 attacking touches. He had 2 successful dribbles out of 2. He had 1 out of 2 accurate crosses. He won half of all his defensive tackles. He had 5 recoveries, the most in the game.
Where did you get all these? Sorry.
Footmob which uses Y Scout.
Oh, nice.
He won 67% of his ground duels, more than any other Hearts defensive player. He was fouled twice. He lost possession 0 times, and he committed 0 fouls. I'm a big fan already, and especially to do that in the first 15 minutes of that second half, and the last 5 minutes of the first half when he's down to 10 men. And I know Haring comes on, but that then
as well.
Yeah, exactly. I was really impressed. He's a very tidy player. I don't think he's going to be too exciting in terms of attacking fruition. I think he will be the link.
That's not his job, is it?
Who cares? Yeah, we've got other players to do that. I think he'll be the link between the defence and the attack. He is absolutely massive, by the way. He is huge. It was insane. He stood beside Alan Forrest when they came out, and it was like a dad and his wee boy. It was mental. But
Austin Powers mini-me.
Yes, exactly.
Dr. Evil.
I fully agree that Humphreys was our best player. He was the player who looked like we were going to do the most out of. But just behind him was Keogh. Thought he was so tidy. I feel bad that we didn't really mention him against Motherwell, because I actually had a lot of opinions about him, because I felt that in the first half an hour he really struggled, and he himself said that he couldn't. You
did host that episode.
I know, and I feel we finished recording. I went, shit, we didn't speak about Keogh. He himself said he struggled initially to adapt to the pace of the game. He couldn't believe how quickly the game was, and then I think in the Motherwell game, from the half an hour mark till the end of the 90, he didn't put a foot wrong. I don't think he really put a foot wrong against Rangers as well. And that's a step up in terms of position. So far, 2 games, I've been really impressed with him, and I hope it continues.
And this will spell the end for Big Pedro.
I don't necessarily think that's the case. If we continue with this 4-3-3.
Interesting. Even with Benny coming back into the equation eventually. I can't wait to see my comments.
Benny does change it, but I think Benny and Keogh are more similar.
Oh no, don't say that.
I'm
dreaming of a duo of Benny and Keogh now.
I personally would love to see that. I would love to see a duo of Benny and Keogh, but I think some fans would criticise that for being too defensive.
And then just let the front 4 go and do their
thing. That's what I want. I would love that. That would be class. But I think people would say that's too defensive. Because you would need 6 defensive players then.
It speaks volumes about the Nick of Hearts at the minute, that we're looking forward to like future teams, future legends. And the current is just absolutely.
But that is the thing, because we haven't really mentioned them. I think out of those 4 goals, Halkett prevents 2 of them. I think Halkett prevents both those first half.
How big a miss is he, man?
And we've been banging that drum for years now. We've been saying how important Halkett is, and it's great that the entire fan base in the last year has kind of been like, oh yeah, he is. He's our best defender.
Those 2 Perth to Paisley clowns were right.
About one thing ever. I think he's our most important defender and best defender. Kingsley's a better player, right? All round.
A better footballer.
Yeah, you could play Kingsley in centre mid, right? And he'd be class. But in terms of importance to our defence and in terms of being a defender, Halkett's best, because he just is like, don't worry, I've got it. And we don't have that.
Defence obsessed. That's high praise.
Also, we miss Rolls. I miss Rolls every second of life.
Just miss a competent.
Because I do think this is the case. Before he got hurt, Rolls was our player of the season. Him and Cochrane were our 2 best players. right? He was averaging an 8.4 in his games, right?
Alex Cochrane, I think, is the contender.
I think Cochrane's so far as player of the season.
But then I've really liked watching Alan Forrest as well. I think Alan Forrest has been excellent.
I just want the ball back and playing with each other. It's so annoying.
A fully fit 11 actually is really enticing.
Yeah,
from a Hearts perspective. But God knows when we'll see that.
Yeah.
And that was ultimately that. I mean, I alluded to Morelos getting his usual goal. Ryan Kent. Rangers' biggest win in Gorgate since February 2008. What a start that is.
Wow.
When Jean-Claude Darcheville and Nacho Novo both bagged braces. And they won by the same scoreline. So, tough afternoon.
Yep.
However,
got the easy wee thing.
Yeah. It's great that we've got these nice fixtures to get us back into the swing of things. Focus turns to Fiorentina.
What a sentence.
I know. I never thought I'd be ushering those words. Oh, it makes me so happy. Well, does it? Like, it does, but equally it doesn't. Of course, prior to our next episode, we will have 2 matches to discuss, and the first of which comes against Fiorentina at Tynecastle. Laviola take on the Jambos. I had to laugh when I saw this. Home and away with a match against Lazio sandwiched in between in Florence. We play host to the Italians before travelling to Ayrshire to take on Kilmarnock. Rugby park.
Really back down to earth with a fucking bag.
That is the epitome of European come down, isn't it? Hangover. That is hangover material. Vincenzo Italiano's side are currently sat in 11th place in Italy's top tier, both scoring and conceding just 7 goals in 8 matches, 2 wins, 3 draws, and 3 losses. The most recent of which came away to Atalanta at the weekend. What are you anticipating from, let's face it, Italian football royalty, McIver?
An absolute fucking hiding. That's what I'm expecting. They've got players like Kone, Jovic, Zelensky,
Bonaventura, middle of the park.
Bonaventura in the middle of the park, just casually, former Milan midfielder, and just like, I know that everyone's like, well, they're on quite bad run of form. Their manager called out their forwards and stuff like that.
They could prioritise the league. They don't give a damn about the conference.
We're going to get battered, I fear. My big thing about this game is I personally would not risk Halkett.
Kelly on Sunday of more importance to you?
I don't even know if I'd play him then because it's a plastic pitch, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'd give him an extra week.
Why did last season we not vote to get rid of that?
Yeah, because there was only
Livy were literally the only representative. That was the chance.
Yeah. I don't know what team I'd play, to be honest. I just know I wouldn't risk Halkett because we did this against RFS. We literally did this. It was like, oh, well, because, yes, I don't think we can get a result without Halkett against Fiorentina. But is it worth the risk of losing Halkett to another month? Because the league has to be the priority.
Not for me, although we would then enter November. Our fixtures would obviously come to an end given the start of the World Cup.
True. It's just where are we by that point?
Put it this way, would you be... I was going to ask you about this because I know that Big Pete's had a torrid time of it this season in the middle of the park. This would be a big test for Lewis Nielsen, one that I don't think he's quite ready for. Would you be tempted to move Peter Haring to accompany Stephen Kingsley in a back 4?
Yeah, I would. Personally, I would. I'd play probably Cochrane, Kingsley, Haring, Smith as a back 4. I know that right-hand side is slow. And, well, Akone's on the other side. I don't know who they have on the left-hand side. He's probably fast, though, whoever it is.
Anymore, is it?
No, exactly. He's probably quite quick, whoever it is. But I just think that's better. Unless we go with a 3 and it gives Nielsen that extra bit of cover to have Haring alongside him. But I don't know. I think it's
3-5-2 and go for it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you play a 3, you're really allowing yourself.
Then we're asking for it.
Yeah,
we're like lambs to the slaughter. Then
yeah, I think we need to play a 4. But it's just we're in a situation where the injuries are killing us.
Score predictions for Fiorentina and Kelly?
4-0 loss to Fiorentina. And we get battered.
Jesus Christ.
And a 1-0 loss to Killy, because it's us versus Killy. We'll obviously get beat.
Oh, it's bad when I'm slightly more optimistic by my predictions. I was going to say 3-1 Fiorentina. I can't see a scoring now. Now that you said that, so I'll go 3-0. Do I see a scoring in Ayrshire? Potentially, but we'll probably still get beat. So 2-1 Kelly. Okay. Either Shankland or Forest to score, given their Ayr United affiliations.
Of course.
I want to put a positive spin on things, but it's just not nice. Nah. Hearts do this, like, why?
But it is like, look at the opposition we're playing.
But you feel great. You literally feel on top of the world.
I'm still buzzing for it. Like,
I'm like, yes, we're fucking back. And then we've just come crashing back down to earth. And don't get me wrong,
I'm buzzing.
Like the games against Fiorentina are going to be just magical. Yeah. I cannot wait to get over there. It'll be unbelievable. Because they reckon that there's something like 5,000, I think.
Some of it, yeah. Like, traveling. I don't know. Yeah. It's
God
crazy.
Knows. If you're on that 8:20 flight from Edinburgh to Milan the Wednesday night, give us a shout. See you there. And I'm heading home via Bologna and Amsterdam on the Friday.
Jesus, man.
The things I do for this football club.
Wow.
He says, having not been away this season, but I'm going to kill you, so it's all right. Right. Let's move on to the quiz. I'm sick of
yes, I'm going to be shit at this. I'm still in holiday brain mode.
This is the best segment of the show. The rest of it's largely irrelevant. So this will be good. What have we got in here? We have a multiple choice, true or false. Who am I? Yeah.
Cool.
That's us in our 5. First of which is, first question. How many red cards were shown in the 6 Scottish Premiership matches this weekend?
The 1 week when I don't watch sports scenes, so I have no idea.
To blame, mate.
3.
Are you just saying that off the cuff?
No idea. 3.
That's the correct answer.
Yes! Who else was it?
Callum McGregor of Celtic, Cammy Devlin of Hearts and St Mirren's, Jonah Ayunga, all sent off against Motherwell, Rangers and Livingston, respectively.
The only reason I said 3 is because I was like, well, it's clearly not just Devlin, because you wouldn't have asked the question. It's probably more than 2. Would there be 4 red cards across the week? Probably not. That's a lot. Nice. Yeah. Class start.
Question number 2. What was the aggregate scoreline of the 4 league meetings between Hearts and Rangers last season?
Oh, right.
This does not bode well for reading.
So last season, so not including the one we just had. Right. We drew 1-1 at Ibrox.
We did. That was our only positive result against Rangers that entire campaign.
We got beat 5-0 at Ibrox.
We did.
That's 7. What the hell? I think we got beat 2-0 at Tynecastle.
Oh, aggregate scoreline.
Oh, so 6-1. I think we got beat 2-0 at Tynecastle. I don't know if that's right, though. So, 8-1.
Oh.
And I cannot remember the other game. I have no idea what the other game is. I can't even think of how early it was.
The very last game of the Scottish Premiership season. I'll give you a wee hand. Ahead of that final.
Oh, God, I only know that we scored. I know that Haring scored and we went 1-0 up, but I cannot remember if they scored 3 or 4. So what have I said? So before that game, have I said it's 8-1?
Yes, you have.
I'll go 12-2. Because I think we got beat 4-1, but it might have been 5. A decade. 12-2.
It was 3-1 that day. It's 11-2.
Oh, was it?
Why did I
we got battered?
Because it was the backup brigade.
Yes.
It was embarrassing, but no matter.
Well, it was 1 goal off.
You were unlucky, mate. You were unlucky. You gave it a good effort.
Yeah.
That was impressive. Your multiple choice is, how many clubs have played in more Serie A seasons than Fiorentina, Is it A3, B4, or C5?
Right. You have to imagine both Milan clubs will have. Juventus probably haven't because they got knackered and had to go.
Their match fixing scandal.
Yeah. Because I just never think of Fiorentina out with the Serie A. What were the options, sorry? 2, 3, and 4?
No, A3, B4, C5.
Right. So it's at least both Milan clubs and somebody, at the very least. It's probably not 3 because...
Giving your 3 options, 3, 4, or 5, that would suggest.
Yeah. So it won't be 3 because you won't have 3 be the answer to 2 questions. I don't see 5 other teams. I can think of both Milan sides, Bologna, and like Roma. Oh, but Roma and Lazio. I'm going to go with 4.
Is the correct answer. Very good.
Who are they? Both Milan
clubs, Roma, and it actually is Juventus, despite their match.
Is it?
Scandal.
Is it?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
They're the 4. So well done. Good knowledge.
That was pure. That wasn't knowledge. That was purely just math-based logic.
It was a guesstimate.
It
was a guesstimate.
Yeah.
Your true or false is Fiorentina have reached the final of all 3 major Continental Cup competitions. Now, I should specify this. Obviously, the conference season's inaugural season was last season. So when I say this, I mean the European Cup or Champions League, the UEFA Cup or Europa League, and the European Cup Winners' Cup.
Right, because I was going to say, well, that's false because they didn't get to the Conference League final. But right, that makes sense.
I had to clarify that.
So to get to the Cup Winners' Cup, they need to have won one of them. I'm going to go true.
It is true. Very good, McIver. They were the first Italian team to reach a European Cup final.
That's what I thought. I thought that. Yeah.
They lost that to Real Madrid. They lost the UEFA Cup to Juve, arch rivals Juve, in 1989-90. And they won the Cup Winners' Cup in 1960-61, where they actually beat, of all teams, our weekend opponent Rangers.
Oh, wow.
In a two-legged final. So there you go.
The only reason, by the way, I knew that Real Madrid stat is because I saw a stat about all Real Madrid's wins, and it said versus Fiorentina.
Nice. So you've done 3. You've got 3 out of 4. You've done really well. The only one
I'm happy was, and I was only a goal off. You always do this. You always give me questions where I get no points for like having to remember 9 folk.
Hey, you did well.
Who scored all the goals against Dundee United? And I get everybody except 1 and didn't get any fucking points.
Right. Belter of a question. As is this.
Oh, God.
Right. Who am I? Bear in mind, I finally got off the mark.
Yes.
Last time out.
It's 3-1 currently.
Hallelujah.
Or is it 4-1? I can't mind.
I think it's 4.
I think it is 4-1. Right. Can I make it 5-1? Can we get the big score?
I really, really hope not. I'll be very impressed if you do get this.
Right.
Okay, strap yourself in. Here we go. I joined the Jambos from St Johnstone after spells with 3 clubs playing in the English leagues. I am responsible for second city derby goals in history. I made just 1 appearance for the Jambos, coming on as a substitute in an eventual 1-0 loss to Celtic at Parkhead. I was capped 12 times by my country in a decade, and I signed for Hearts aged 35 before leaving to sign for a club in my homeland after 14 years abroad. Who am I?
Right, wait, hold on. You're going to need to repeat them because the amount of clues I forgot the first year. Right, so go through them all again.
I joined the Jambos from St Johnstone after spells with 3 clubs playing in the English leagues. I am responsible for one of the most controversial second city derby goals in history. I made just 1 appearance for the Jambos, coming on as a substitute in an eventual 1-0 loss to Celtic at Parkhead. I was capped 12 times by my country in a decade, and I signed for Hearts aged 35 before leaving to sign for a club in my homeland after 14 years abroad. Who am I? Looking at that shake of the head.
That is ridiculous. Right, tell me the clubs he played for.
Right, hold on. Just getting these wiki up. I knew that you were going to ask that question. First and foremost. Right. Okay. Here we go. Right. Senior career. TPS Turku, Aston Villa, Blackburn Rovers, initially on loan before signing a permanent deal, Cardiff City, initially on loan before signing a permanent deal, St Johnstone, Hearts, and IFK Mariehamn.
Right. Did you tell me in the clues what year he signed?
No, I didn't.
What year did he sign?
2012 to 13.
Oh,
so
no.
On the 17th of August 2012, this man signed a short-term deal with Hearts until January 2013.
Right. I'm telling you now, I'm not getting it because I don't think I could name you 5 players in that squad.
Nobody cares because it was the year after the
cup
one.
I literally have no memories of that season at all. I have none.
Oh, was McGlynn ball not in full flow then?
I did, Ken.
I think it was.
Was it? 2012?
Yeah, did McGlynn not succeed Sergio?
I can't mind.
I'm fairly certain John McGlynn succeeded Paulo Sergio.
Did he?
Hold on a second. Why am I doubting this? I'm going to look at our list of gaffers. Club staff. Where's the list of Heart Midlothian managers? Yeah, Paulo Sergio and then John McGlynn. Yeah.
Right, I got an extra clue out of you by doing that. Right.
Who did McGlynn sign?
It does not help at all.
No, that is the most pointless clue of all time.
Yeah, because I genuinely don't even have a name. Like, I don't have anybody in my head that we signed that was that old, that then left so quick. Especially because he left so quickly, I won't have any memory of him.
If anybody's got any memory of him, I'll be amazed. I don't know why the hell he popped in my head the other week.
The problem is, I'm going to have to say a name that I know didn't sign for during that time, which is annoying. It's going to be like ridiculous.
Like John Sutton or somebody.
No. What was the final club he played for, sorry?
The final club he played for was IFK Mariehamn.
I don't even know who they are. Who are they? IFK?
Yeah.
Are they Norwegian?
I don't know. No, go on.
No, what were you going to say? Do you want me to walk?
I was going to say, my final clue was I signed for Hearts age 35 before leaving to sign for a club in my homeland after 14 years abroad.
The only name that's popping in my head is only popping in my head because of a joke Andy Driver told me. And it's not him. I
swear to God.
It's because, and also he signed way before this because he was playing with Driver.
Who's in your head?
The only name I had in my head was Larry Kingston because he kept lying about his age. So it was just nobody ever knew how old he was.
He said he was 23, but in reality he was 38.
With 4 kids or something. I couldn't name you a person in that squad that isn't like Ryan McGowan. I have a feeling it's no Ryan McGowan. Right, I'm just going to go. I have to say a name.
You're just going to random stab in the dark. I rate that.
Yeah.
Because this was solid. I had to make it intentionally solid.
Oh, I know who I want to say, but I can't remember his name. No, that doesn't make any sense because he was 20 when he left. Thingy, who came on against Celtic in the semi-final, who was meant to be class at set pieces and was absolutely awful. Peryachenko. Yeah, aye. That's what I wanted to say. But that makes no sense because he was like a child.
That free kick was one of the worst I have ever seen.
Exactly.
After the fan base building him to high heaven.
Exactly. Right. I'm going to go with a childhood favourite of mine, just because I've no thought of him in a while. Phil Stamp.
Phil Stamp kicking about for us in 2012.
Yeah, is it? I'm pretty confident. Is it Phil Stamp?
I'm sorry at this point, McIver, but it's not Phil Stamp.
I think he played in the kit you're wearing.
I think he did. Yeah. I think this is about 02.
That's the Derby top that he's
right.
in. Right, who was it?
The correct answer was Peter Enkelman.
I only really vaguely know that name. Is he a goalie?
It's a goalie.
I don't even really know who he is. I can't picture him at all.
You probably know him because have you seen that goal that he concedes for Aston Villa against Birmingham?
The one that goes under his foot?
Yes.
Is that who? He played for us?
Yeah.
No idea. I didn't even know that.
He made one appearance for us.
Oh, and he's Finnish, not Norwegian.
Celtic, yeah. Hence the IFK Mariham.
Well, that is genuinely bright. I had no idea he played for us. I had no idea he played for us.
Really?
So no.
God knows why he popped into my head, but I just remembered. I want to say that I saw like his name appear on like Twitter or maybe heard it in a podcast or something.
I don't know.
I was like, I remember Peter Enkelman. Absolutely hopeless goalkeeper. One appearance too many.
Exactly.
My goodness.
Right, well, sadly it wasn't Phil Stamp, but regardless, we hope you have enjoyed listening to this episode. There's been a lot. There's going to be a hell of a lot this month, especially with the amount of games we have. So we hope you are enjoying the show. If you are, please leave us a like. If you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe and comment as well. If you're just listening to us on a podcast platform, please share that about and please leave a review on that podcast platform. It massively helps us. If you want to contact us, we're at Perth to Paisley on everything. We've also got an email, perthtopaisley@gmail.com. Adam, where can they get you on all the socials?
They can get me on all the socials. Be sure to tweet me at Adam T. Kendall if you got Peter Enkelman or, if your breath smells. What about you, McIver?
I'm at DMcIver22. We'll be back next week to discuss Fiorentina, Killie, preview upcoming games, hopefully speak about some historic European wins, but quite unlikely to be honest. But regardless, we'll see what happens. And we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Come on the House!